Texas Chain Saw Massacre game has finally released, and I'm gonna give you some tips and tricks on how to get started. If you enjoy this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll release a specific guide on each of the family members and victims. Your goal as a victim is to escape by any means necessary, and as the family, your goal is to prevent any of the victims from escaping. There are multiple ways the victims are able to escape from each map, either the front or rear gates, which both require the nearby generator to be turned off by the victims before exiting. The front generator is always turned on by default, but the rear generator has to be manually turned on by the family, so don't forget. The pressure valve gate requires a victim to get a valve off of one of the pumps around the map and then install it on the main canister to open the exit. The family can stop this exit pretty easily by turning the pressure off again before the gate opens, so either use it as a distraction or hope they don't turn it off in time. Lastly, the basement door requires a victim to collect a fuse from around the map and install it in the main fuse box to open the exit. This exit is only open for a limited time before it closes again, so you have to be quick. As the victim, there are items around the map that will aid you in your escape, but if you are too loud when searching for them, you'll alert the family to your location or even wake up grandpa. The unlock tool, which is used to lockpick the locked doors and gates around the map, as well as the main fuse box. The health items, which come in large and small form, are the only way to gain back your deteriorating health. It also stops blood trails, which is handy in the late game when you're easier to track down. And the bone shards, which are used to either stab a family member in the back, which stuns them and allows time for you or the other victims to escape. Incapacitate grandpa, which is especially handy if grandpa starts to get to a high level. You can use it to cut down bone charms around the map. And lastly, you can use the shards to break hitchhikers' traps, which sometimes might be blocking necessary escape objectives for you. How you get out as the victim is one thing, but stopping the victims from escaping is another. The experience is different depending on the family member you're playing as. Leatherface starts in the basement, where it is rather easy for victims to get away from you because of all the barricades and crawl spaces, so get them out of the way when you see them because it'll make it much less safe for the victims to traverse. Search for the victims quickly to put pressure on them, prolonging them from leaving the basement for as long as possible, which gives the other family members time to set up and collect blood to feed grandpa. With the cook, you'll want to get familiar with the blood bucket spawns on each of the maps and figure out the areas with the most traffic so that you can use your locks to make it harder for the victims to escape. If this video gets 50 likes, I'll make a series of guides for each individual map. For example, on the family house map, there are blood buckets that allow for an easy 100 blood to wake up grandpa before the victims are able to unlock the basement door. Grandpa starts by being asleep and can be woken up by either a loud victim when a victim opens a basement door, or as I said previously, when the family feeds him 100 blood to get him to level 1. When grandpa screams, he highlights any victims that are moving during that period. The family can keep eating blood to grandpa to make him scream more often, and at level 5, he will spot victims even if they're standing still. Both the hitchhiker and sissy will want to get familiar with the escape routes and items that victims will interact with, as they both can hinder their progress pretty effectively by trapping the fuse box, for example. These two will put pressure on victims who escape the basement early and aren't stealthy enough, as well as assisting and chasing in the very elusive basement. Johnny is better than I thought he would be, mostly on the gas station and slaughterhouse maps, where victims can kind of just disappear in bushes or hiding places. He can just track the footsteps through the bushes, which is super helpful. Once you complete your first match, you'll receive XP, and each time you level up your account level, you'll receive skill tree points. These skill tree points can be used to get new perks and attribute points for whichever character you choose. But keep in mind that since it takes more XP for each level, it will take a long time to have every character level 10 all at the same time. The skill tree has 3 starting paths that offer a specific set of perks and attribute points that can be used to create unique builds on each character. For example, with my cook right now, I put all of my attribute points into endurance and equip blood runner, which allows me to use less stamina when I have half a blood vial, universal donor, which gives me more blood every time I harvest from a bucket, and this last perk, which increases my base endurance attribute as well, only if I go down this skill tree path. Once you go down one path, the other paths can't be accessed. But don't worry, if you want to get your skill points back, you're free to respec at any time, and even put those skill points back into a different character that you're interested in playing. Each perk has its own XP system consisting of 3 levels, which increase the effectiveness of the perk. This 3-level system also carries over to each character's ability, which has its own mini skill tree. tree. Once you get one upgrade, the other side closes. It's an interesting mechanic that allows for a lot of experimentation and variety in builds for each character. Lastly, in the skill tree, there are grandpa perks that each family member shares as grandpa gets to a higher level. But keep track of the victims because they can always sneak up and incapacitate grandpa, making him lose levels. If you want to learn more about each character's ability and attributes, be sure to check out the videos on screen, and I'll see you over there. Peace.